But those, if you do those things over time, will actually improve your life.
Welcome to How I Make, a series that gives you an insight into makers, the tools they use, and a behind the scenes look into their products. Hi, Steph. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
Good, thank you. I understand that you work remotely, right? And
Yep,
with
I work remotely.
with that you travel. So where in the world are you right now?
I'm currently in Bali.
Nice. How's Bali treating you?
Bali's great.
Yeah,
Nothing to complain about. Yeah.
excellent. So again, thanks for agreeing to be part of this. I know we had we had to do a bit of a scheduling tango, but we were here. So thanks for that.
Yeah, no worries.
Let's kick things off by showing us your desktop. So if you want to share your screen and show everyone what's on your desktop.
Sure. I've never done this before, but
Okay.
yeah, I'll share my screen. So yeah, this is my desktop. Not super clean,
Yeah, that's not what we're
but
looking for. We
I've
just wanna,
got
yeah,
no, whose desktop actually is clean. So I don't know. I've got
yeah.
like most of my like project stuff down here, a bunch of other stuff, TopTal stuff. I work for TopTal.
Okay,
Writing, speaking, and then a bunch of random stuff over here, like images. I have a drone, so my drone stuff, uh, and just like a couple random, I guess, files.
cool. Oh, so take us through the tools you use on a daily basis, from whether it's Slack, Telegram, or for messaging, or So just take us through some of the tools that you use for your work.
Sure. So for work or my projects or both.
Both.
Okay, so for work, I use Slack. We use Slack at TopTal
Hmm.
for anything communication related, Zoom for any calls, Google Suite for basically everything else. For my personal stuff, I use Evernote to track basically everything. It's like my to-do lists and different projects and stuff like that. I use Telegram to keep in touch with people, and as you know, there's a lot of maker groups and different chats for that. WhatsApp to keep in touch with friends sometimes, and then Discord only recently because one of my projects, we started a Telegram chat for it, and a bunch of people were asking for it to be, I don't know, either in Slack or Discord because there's channels and different functionalities. So it's called Code Crew, and that's why I use Discord. But this is only a recent thing. But
Cool.
yeah, those are the tools I use on a daily basis.
Okay, cool. Um, you have a bunch of products, so why don't you give us an overview of your products or that you've launched?
Sure. Actually, I'll just pull up my site because that's easier for me to just run through them.
Yeah,
So
sure.
yeah, these are my projects. So these are all projects unrelated to my, I guess, full-time role at TopTal. I just create them for fun and like to create things that I think add a little bit of value to the world or things that I care about. So started off with a project called Nomad Hub. I launched it in, I think, October 2018 after spending quite a few months learning to code. And it was kind of just like a project that I wanted to see exist
Hmm.
because as you know, I work remotely and I travel around a lot, and there was this emergence over the last couple of years of these co-working, co-living retreats, and I thought it'd be cool to just have a very, very simple way to navigate them. So you want to go on a co-working retreat and in July, like which ones are on, where are they going, etc. Or maybe you specifically want to go to Africa, like which ones are going to be in Africa,
Hmm.
when, and it's just an easy way to navigate and find the retreats that you're interested in. So that was my first project. I haven't really kept up with it
Hmm.
too much
Okay.
since, but it was fun, and it was a really cool project to put together, as it was like my first baby
Yeah.
after learning to code. After that, I created something called Make Yourself Great Again. Again, this was a tool that I kind of wanted to
Hmm.
exist, so I can open it up so people can see what it does quickly. But it basically is like a way to visualize your time or understand how you're investing your time
Oh,
into
cool.
things, distractions or investments. So obviously nothing in life is like so cut and dry,
Yeah.
but basically there's things that if you spend time on them, they basically won't add to your life in any substantial way over time. And then there's investments, which, you know, come in all different forms. It can be like working out or spending time with family or picking up a new skill. But those, you know, if you do those things over time, will actually improve your life. And they'll compound out over time. So this is a tool to kind of, you know, enter in, kind of reflect on how you're spending your time. And if you enter the numbers, it'll give you a sense of, you know, how much time are you spending on distractions versus investments, and how does that compound? And if you reallocated some of this, what does that look like in terms of like tangible things that you could do, like, you know, learn to code, read books, learn a language, etc. So that was my second project. And this one actually went to #1 on Product Hunt because I think it resonated with people, because I think we all kind of could do a little better in terms of allocating our time to things we care about versus things that we probably shouldn't be doing. So that was my second project. I still go back to it every so often and input my time as like a reflection, because normally like I'm definitely nowhere close to perfect, and I spend my time in bad ways as well. So it's kind of like a way to reset and be like, hey, you should be spending your time more effectively. I'll quickly go through the others. Unoya is just like it's a searchable directory of words that don't translate. That was done with the 24-hour startup challenge that happened last year. Make is it's basically like an analysis of basically data from Product Hunt and how I guess the representation of women on there, what does that look like? So I pulled a bunch of data from Product Hunt through their API, and then ran it through another API, which was called Genderize, which helped kind of indicate gender and the probability of that gender. And then I also went through like thousands of names that were you know, not 100% sure, basically, like what gender they were coming from, to kind of get a sense of how that's that equation is changing over time. So you can quickly see where that fits, like, you know, what percentage of makers and solo makers are women, how that trends over time, etc. And then my latest project is called Progression Page, and it's a way to visualize how you are, I guess, like daily tracking of for people who are learning to code. So that was like such a big, or basically tracking whether I was learning to code or not in 2018 was or so influential in me actually kind of making it through that year, and, you know, coming out of it, actually having stuck with it, whereas a lot of people drop it after a couple of days or weeks. So this is a page which basically pulls data from a Google spreadsheet, which is not there. I need to pull it up, but basically it's pulling data as to whether people are learning, what they're learning on a given day, what their goals are, what they're trying to learn, and what they've made. So super simple, but I also created this because I wanted to get a group together of people who were learning to code, who could kind of like hold each other accountable. So that's also what I was mentioning earlier with the Discord group. That's like a group of people who are all kind of trying to support each other.
That's great. So thanks for the quick overview. Let's use the progress page as a segue into showing us one of your products in more detail. Take us under the hood, kind of the high level functionality of it, if you would.
Sure. So I'll hop in. So I use an IDE called Cloud9 for coding. It's basically getting deprecated, though, as you can see up here at the top. I have 4 days to migrate out, and I keep putting it off. But anyway, so yeah, this is, I guess, everything I build is in Node. It's like just the stack that I know and use. So all of the applications I just went through are Node applications, including this one, Progression Page. It's a simple Node application with because it's only a single page right now, like all of the data is here. It's just a single route that plugs into the Google API. So my code is not super clean here, as you can tell, but basically it's authenticating that particular sheet in the API with the API. And then it's pulling, I need to find the spreadsheet actually. Let me quickly go into my drive.
Sure.
But basically, it's pulling that data from the spreadsheet. There's a specific tab for each individual. Actually, I can pull up the spreadsheet with this. So basically, sorry, we're pulling in data from every single tab. So each individual who's part of the application has a tab where they track daily if they're learning to code, what they're learning to code, how much time they're actually spending learning to code on that given day. And again, some of the other things that I mentioned here, like what skills they're learning, whether they're advanced or intermediate or beginner. And all of that is found on a given tab here. So you can see, I'll go to mine.
So what you've done is you're using Google Sheets as the database.
Yes, exactly. So this is the database. Every single person, like I said, has their own individual tab. This is kind of like a template that people can, you can see like this example, they can just copy it, obviously change the data so that it's their own. And then they just go into this on a given day and say, okay, like, did I learn to code or not? And if they did, you just add a little note here, like test. Oops, my E key, I don't know if you can see this, is like literally not and not attached. So, but yeah, you can see test, and then this will turn into a 1, and you can add like a, let's say I coded for 60 minutes that day, and then the actual application will pull in all this data so you can see the notes of what someone actually did in terms of learning to code or not. In a red box, of course, if they didn't, how many hours they've spent since their journey, and you can see the start date for each person on here. And it's just, I think it's a way to keep people accountable. So yeah, the way the app works is super simple. It's just pulling in a range of data based on the tabs that exist and the people that have added there, pulling that into an array, and then the actual Express application, you can see here, is just taking that data and parsing it. So parsing that array into various spots, or I guess what you see basically on this page. So it's actually a really simple and small application. But it's kind of, the reason I went with Google Sheets in this case as the database is because it makes it super easy for people to add their information versus having to submit a form or anything like that, which most sites use. So I think this is a great way for people to just like hop into a sheet and all they have to add is like a tiny little note, and it's represented visually on the application.
There's a few of these. That's great. There's a few of these applications where they have kind of used the Google Sheets as a backend. So it's really interesting to see your interpretation of that and how you've solved that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Have you launched this yet, or are you still?
So I've launched in the sense that it exists and people are using it. I think we started in a Telegram group and we had around 60, and then we migrated to Discord, and I guess it looks like we have around 48 people using it. Not all of them actually use the application. There's around maybe 20 or so who use it. But I think for me, this one in particular, it's not the most scalable infrastructure, which is why you don't really see big companies using Google Sheets as a database. I created this more so for the group, so that it was just like an easy way to keep track of things. So I don't have any plans to necessarily launch this on Product Hunt or similar sites, but it's just I think like a cool application for the group to use.
That's great. So you mentioned it's a Node application. You use Google Sheets as a backend. Is there any more to this application as a stack? Anything else worth mentioning in that regards?
So it's a Node application that actually like renders the page with Express. And yeah, since Google's the database, there's actually in most of my applications, I use Mongo as my database. But Google Sheets is the database in this case. But yeah, it's actually like a super, super simple application to build.
Excellent. And is within this, I mean, you say it's super simple, but within this, was there anything in particular that had you stumped where you thought, oh, how am I going to solve this?
Well, I mean, for me, the biggest thing was learning how to integrate properly into the Google Sheets API, because there's a couple different ways you can do it. And I know, so they used to have version 4 came out I don't know exactly when, but many people were still using version 3, and there's simpler ways to actually get data from version 3, but they're probably deprecating that anyway. So I decided to build this on using version 4 of the API. So it definitely, like, the longest or most stump that I got was related to actually integrating with the API. But once I got past that, the actual, so you can see like the HTML and CSS is super simple. It was really just about getting that functionality.
Okay, great. What else are you working on right now? I mean, you're working on this currently. Is there anything else that's on the horizon for you? How's things looking?
Yeah, so lately I've been focusing a lot on my blog, which I guess I can pull up. So that's been going super, super well. And like, I actually just hit over 1,000 subscribers yesterday, which is super exciting. Yeah, and that was one of my, I can go to my open page. So another thing that a lot of people, where is it? Ask about when they, I guess, find me or see my site is the open page. And this is self-coded with a lot of the same functionality that actually Progression page uses. So all of this data is, well, not all of it, but most of it's live. So for example, this is pulling every 5 minutes from the MailChimp API. This data in terms of revenue is pulling directly from a spreadsheet that I have where I track my goals. All this exercise data is also pulling from that same spreadsheet where I just like add a 1 or 0 if I exercise that day. So this, I guess this over 1,000 number was one of my 2019 goals, and it was super exciting to actually see that get hit. But yeah, this is my blog.
Congratulations.
Thanks. And this is really because, so as you can see from the projects that I've built, most of them are pretty small, which is totally fine, and but really not the types of things that you would maybe call like a product or something that really would grow to the point where you obtain like, you know, hundreds or thousands of users, and you kind of invest in it as like a business. So I do want to, like, in terms of the next project that I build something along those lines where I can really like invest in it for the next year or two. But I haven't quite figured out exactly what that will look like. You know, I have a couple of ideas, but I haven't really like zeroed in on one that I definitely want to proceed with. So in the meantime, I've just been kind of like utilizing my blog as a passion project to like share my thoughts and help other people do similar things, like learn to code, and just, you know, kind of like use that as a medium for me to express myself in the meantime before I really jump into a project that I think, you know, I'll spend a lot more time on. So this is, if I go back, this is my blog. And yeah, it's been going super, super well.
That's great. So, I mean, with your track record of your projects, call them whatever you want to, and you know how it's going with your blog, I think it's you're in a great spot because you've got eyeballs onto what you're doing, into what you're saying. So I'm excited to see where you take things next.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm excited to see too.
Great. So yeah, this has been good. This has been insightful. It's been interesting. It's been great meeting you in person, albeit electronically. And yeah, thanks again for appearing on the show, Steph.
Yeah, thanks so much.
See you around.
See ya.
And that's it. Let me know in the comments who you'd like to see featured next. Bye for now.